Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Antoine. I'm with the Cash Group, and I'm based out of Tokyo. I've been in Tokyo for the last 2 years. So, I've got 3 objectives. First of all is to wake you up, because I know it's been a tough week, and I'm personally tired. I'm sure all of you are tired. The second thing is that I'm hoping we're all going to have fun, and it's going to be 10 minutes which are going to be fun and entertaining. And then the last thing is that I'm hoping that those next 10 minutes are going to be the most productive of the conference. And I'm not going to explain to you why now, but I'm hoping that by the end of this talk it will be obvious to you. So let's get started. I'll start with a little story. Every summer, my wife goes to France. She takes the kids and goes on vacation for about a month and a half. And what ends up happening is that because I'm no longer worried about my wife screaming at me because I'm late and not helping with the kids, I end up spending about 2 additional hours in the office. And the interesting part is that my output remains exactly the same. So I don't get a lot more done even though I spend 2 additional hours in the office. So productivity goes down. Thank you. Okay. But on the other end of the spectrum, just before I go on vacation, which is not often enough according to me, but too often according to the HR rules, I end up getting a lot done. I'm very productive because I want to make sure that I don't have any worry. I don't have anything worrisome during my vacation. So during those days, my productivity goes up dramatically. Where I'm going with this is that I'm sure we can. You all agree with me that you have the ability to impact your productivity. You have the ability to be more productive. But the question is how? How can you be more productive? What are the things that can help you be more productive in the office? And what I'm going to walk you through today are a few things that have helped me be more productive. And those are simple changes that I've made that have had very significant impact on my personal productivity. And these are simple changes, and I think these are changes that that are applicable to all of you. And these are changes that will apply to you, will be applicable to you in most circumstances, but will have a significant impact. So in finance terms, you would call this high ROI changes. So let me start with the first one. The first one will also start with a little story. So a few years ago, I was on an airplane, and I pulled out my laptop to get a few emails done. And even though in a matter of a few hours, I was able to clean up my inbox down to 0 emails. And I was really surprised. I was wondering, why is it possible? I've been wanting to clean up my inbox for a long, long time, and I could not do it in the office. And now I'm on a plane for a few hours and I can do it. So from that experience, what I did is that I tried to replicate that no distraction or quote-unquote airplane time in the office. Some people refer to it as getting off the grid. And so what I did is that in the office, what I tried to do is I turned my email offline so that I don't see those nasty emails coming up. I turn off my IM so that I don't see these IMs coming up saying, can you talk now? And I also make sure that when I do some web browsing, I only do some web browsing that's related to the task that I'm doing. And if I ever come across a link or something that's interesting but not directly relevant to what I'm doing, I send it to my Kindle and I get to it later. And what it does is that during those short period of times, it's really not long, it's like about 30 minutes to an hour, I'm able to focus, and I focus on one single task, and I get a lot done. And if I'm able to replicate this for a few times a day, it makes a big, big difference on my day. So again, this is something that's very simple. All of you can do it. And I would really encourage you to try it. It's really no big deal. So this is a slide about, look at all those distractions that we have. They call it weapons of mass distractions. It's amazing how many temptations and distractions we have. So that was the first one. The other thing that I want to talk about is the concept of taking a break. And I think when you think about the reason why I was interested in this thing about taking breaks is that I was amazed by the number of times where I've had, I wouldn't call it good ideas, but better ideas than usual. And what I mean by that is, like, you go and brush your teeth, you go in the shower, you go and wash your hands, you do these routine tasks, and somehow you're able to think about creative things, or you're able to remember important things. I'm just amazed at the number of those ideas I've had while in the bathroom in R&D. It's just amazing. And then, so when it comes to taking breaks, I think there are two things that are important. The first one is, don't forget to take them. It sounds stupid, but a lot of times you get carried away and you forget about taking those breaks. And I'll give you a few tricks that have worked for me in order to remember that to take those breaks. And the second thing is that I don't think all breaks are created equal. I'll tell you about what are the conditions that need to be met in order for you to make those breaks as productive and constructive as possible. So the first thing, make sure you take those breaks. So for me, and I'm sure a lot of you do that, I do a to-do list. And on that to-do list, I actually write down, go and take a walk, go and get some water, go brush my teeth. And that really helps me and it really increases the chances of me taking those breaks. The second thing that I do is, some of you familiar with a software called Wellnomics? Any of you using it? Yeah. Oh, okay. So Wellnomics is a tool that I really like because what it does is that it tracks your computer activity, and based on that computer activity, it actually prompts you to take breaks. It prompts you to do some stretches. And most of the time when it comes up, I'm like, oh, I hate this thing. But it's only a short pause, right? It's like 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes at most. And once I'm done with those breaks, I'm really happy that I did it, and I'm able to get back into things, and I'm much more productive. My energy level goes up. And a lot of times you get carried away, and I find this software tool very helpful to force me to stop when my computer activity is quote-unquote intense. So the other thing is, not all breaks are created equal. So what I mean by this is when you take a break, you spend a lot of time in front of the computer. When you want to take a break, make sure you don't take your break in front of the stupid computer, right? Just go ahead and get out of that computer. I call this change environment. It makes a big difference. So there are three conditions. The first one is to change environment. So we've already covered this. I'm always worried that I'm going to remember the three, but I think I can do it. Okay, so the first one is change environment. And the other thing is when you go into that new environment, you need to go into a quiet environment. So go into something that's not noisy. Ideally go outside. And the last one is go and do something that's a routine task, a mundane task, that's not taxing on the brain, right? Something that doesn't require a lot of CPU. Don't go into a discussion about quantum physics. So an example for you, we're all sitting at our desk. Go for a walk, go outside, go do something that's really easy. Go and wash your hands, go brush your teeth. Those sort of breaks will actually make a big difference. You'll come back refreshed, and maybe you'll have brilliant ideas during taking those breaks. Okay, so that was the second topic. I've got two more, and then I'll let you go. The last one is something that is dear to my heart. It's called multitasking. Okay? So this is an example of multitasking, right? You see this guy is hand-holding his baby and trying to do multiple things at the same time. So I'm personally totally unable to have a phone conversation while reading a document. So I cannot be on a conference call and reading a document. If I do that, I do both of those things extremely poorly. And there is a lot of research on this. And the research is anonymous that multitasking is bad for your productivity. So what the research says, that there was one research that I found interesting in 2001. And here's what it says. There were 3 PhDs. They took some guinea pigs, so humans, and what they did is that they had them switch from task to task. So they took some complex task and they actually looked at their productivity. they were able to determine that their productivity dropped by as much as 40% when they were switching from task to task. And as the tasks were getting more complex, the productivity dropped even more. So what does it mean for you? The first thing is you need to acknowledge that multitasking doesn't work. And if you think that's not the case, you really go ahead and look. It's all over the place. Multitasking is not possible for complex tasks. And what it means for me in practice is I try to avoid temptations of multitasking. So whenever I walk into a meeting, for instance, I always wonder, do I really need my laptop? Because if I've got my laptop, the chance of me checking my emails, browsing the internet, or doing things that are not related to that meeting increase dramatically. And if I do that, then why do I attend the meeting in the first place? So I'm not saying that you should never multitask, but at least acknowledge that multitasking is not good for you, it's not going to help your productivity, and always question whether or not you've got the right environment to avoid multitasking. Okay, I've got one last one, and then we'll wrap this up. The last one I want to talk about is, I think it's my favorite because it's very easy to implement, and it's something that we all face. It's called procrastination. And by procrastination, what I mean is, you've got an important task to do, but you actually, for whatever reason, you don't get started on it, right? It's something you need to do, but you don't get started on it. So I use this all the time. I've tried it on my 9-year-old daughter to actually get her started on her homework, and it does work. So if it works for her, it's going to work for you. So it's very simple. It's called the 10-minute rule. You can try it too, Amir. So the way it works is, you trick your brain. You tell yourself, it's called the 10-minute rule. So you tell yourself, I'm only going to work on this for 10 minutes. And if after 10 minutes it doesn't work, I'm allowed to drop this. And I'm allowed to give it up. And the way it works for me is that I think, okay, it's only 10 minutes of pain. What's the big deal, right? 10 minutes. And because I trick my brain that it's only going to be 10 minutes, most of the time, for me, the hardest thing is to get started. And then once I get started, then it's a lot easier, right? You actually make some progress, and then you don't even think about those 10 minutes, and you keep on going. So again, something very simple. It's just tricking your brain, but it does work. And I'm sure you've all faced procrastination. If you have not, please let me know, because then I want to hear it. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I want to leave you with one question. I think we're all facing more and more distractions. I mean, think about it. There's all these applications that come up, like, name it. I mean, you name it, like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Skype. There are so many of them, and it's very likely that those are going to keep on increasing. So my question to you is, how do you make sure that technology remains something that helps you, as opposed to something that you're enslaved to and keeps on distracting you and prevents you from focusing on A, the right task, and B, the only task? Because, as I mentioned before, I think you only need to focus on one task. If you don't do that, and then it's going to hurt you. So I'm hoping that those hints that I provided to you will help you. Thank you very much.